Good evening, everybody. Mike Vacchi, Princetontrader.com, here with the Evening Webcast. We'll keep this short and sweet. We'll be back in the morning with the regular webcast, but a couple things I wanted to point out. Here's your open, this 5-minute chart. We pretty much printed the regular session high right off the open. They picked it up a little bit here and tested our proprietary moving average, volume weighted average price, and the hourly mid-band, which we had talked about being important, that whole 85, 86 area. They broke down from there. They broke down pretty nicely. And what you can see from here is they tested the weekly pivot. They came down and tested the 9-day. Now, good parts and bad parts for the bears. Good parts are, it had behaved pretty well throughout the day. They came back up and tested weekly pivot here midday, and it came down to a lower low. They tried, you can see here, they tried to turn the 9-day into resistance, and they closed it there, and then you got a little bit of a pop after the market, and they've been kind of lifting it back up. So we are, we're hanging around right at weekly pivot, right at volume weighted average price, right where all this, this stuff is. You can see the hourly mid-band descending down to meet price. So on the daily chart, here we are. We finally, we were going to interact with that 9-day. We've been talking about it either as a function of time or as a function of price. This is a little bit of both. They went down and grabbed it. But for now, it's support. So we'll talk about it more in the morning, but job one tomorrow, if you're the bears, is you need to close below the blue line. And you got to seal off weekly pivot as resistance. If you do that, then we start talking about testing the bottom of this original rectangle. You can see the 20-day potentially coming into play, but that's going to be the deal going into tomorrow. We'll see how this trades tonight relative to weekly pivot. Very briefly, hourly chart, you can see that's the first real expansion that we've seen in over a week. This doesn't really count. This was Thanksgiving and the day after Thanksgiving. But we had some tight bands, and they resolved to the downside. So zooming in here on the hourly, the question really is, and you can see it on the 5-minute chart, right? That descending red line, which is this line here. It's the hourly midband. How does that hold? And where are we? And here's going to be your daily pivot tomorrow. Where are you going to be relative? Price is going to be relative to hourly midband, daily pivot, weekly pivot, and the 9-day. The 9-day is the most important thing. The The bears need to start to turn key moving averages into resistance. And if they can do that, they can build on other things. All right. Short and sweet tonight. Have a fantastic night. Back with the market webcast in the morning. We'll expand on all this stuff. Take care. See you in the morning.